Today's TP story. The wall that makes all the difference.
An ecological buffer that makes the difference between life and death. In Game of Thrones, a TV series adapted from A Song of Ice and Fire written by George Martin, there is a wall made of mostly ice stretching across the northern border of the Seven Kingdoms.
The wall's not just ice and stone. Ancient spells were carved into its foundations. Strong magic to protect men from what lies beyond.
In the world we live in, there is also a wall of ice and stone. While the wall in Game of Thrones was built with ancient spells, our wall was born out of the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates. It has enabled millions to live with magic of its own. The third pole centered on the Tibetan Plateau serves as an ecological buffer, which makes the difference between life and death.
The wall shapes the climate.
Westeros, the main continent in Game of Thrones, is warm in the south and cold in the north, but generally livable. A climate known as the Long Summer to the Westeros, it is threatened by a long winter of unbearable cold and darkness beyond the wall. Winter is coming, is the motto of House Stark, who lives closest to the wall. In our world, most human habitats, for now, are quite livable as well. But our climate is changing in the opposite direction. As the wall fronts non-Westerosi, the third pole has already felt the heat. The ongoing uplift of the third pole has changed, and continues to change, the Asian landscape and river systems, which eventually is reflected in the local and global climates. The rotation of the Earth, and uneven solar heating, have generated planetary winds, which to a large extent, shape how our planet looks. For example, the plenary winds in the subtropical drive air to the land. As the air heats up going downward, it is less likely for water vapor to condense, or to rain, thus forming vast deserts across North Africa and West Asia. However, at almost the same latitude, you will also find the Yangtze River and the Nile, as well as the cities of New Delhi, Kathmandu, Chongqing, and Hangzhou, which are known for their humidity. Why is that? The wall happened. The third pole, with its sheer height, stopped plenary winds from drying its surroundings. Here is its magic spell. The sun heats the third pole with radiation, which heats up air at high altitudes. As the warmer air goes up, the vacancy has to be filled by air drawn from its lower surroundings. In its climb up to the third pole, the air gets cooled and sometimes condenses, and then it rains. The rainfall feeds into rivers and lakes, which give birth to various human civilizations. Scientists have found that third pole heating has profound impacts on downstream rainstorms over the Yangtze River basin through atmospheric processes.
The wall is key to human survival.
The wall in Martin's world shields life from the dreadful army of the Night King. The third pole, on the other hand, sustains life through its invaluable water resources. An international team of 32 scientists studied 78 mountain glacier-based water systems, or water towers, all over the world, according to lead author of the study, Professor Walter Immerziel from Utrecht University.
We ranked the water towers in order of their importance to adjacent lowland communities, and evaluated their vulnerability to future environmental and socio-economic changes. The third pole, or the Asian water towers, are ranked among the world's most important and most vulnerable water towers.
Glaciers are retreating, permafrost is degrading, and snow-covered days are decreasing at the third pole. Glaciers, permafrost, lakes and snow cover are key freshwater resources. And industry, agriculture, and hydroelectric power generation downstream all rely on timely and sufficient delivery of water.
Glacier meltwater can increase river runoff in the short run. However, the risk of exhausting existing glaciers also looms. It is estimated that the third pole will see peak water on average between 2030 and 2050, when annual glacier runoff will reach a maximum, and will only decrease after that.
Changes in glaciers may increase the risk of natural hazards. The fact that glaciers of different types have collapsed seems to suggest that glaciers on the third pole are becoming ever unstable.
TPE has built a network of observation stations to monitor third pole cryosphere changes so as to understand their impacts on water resources. It is critical for us to develop adaptation strategies, not just at the regional or national level, but at the basin scale involving all riparian countries.
The wall is where ice and fire meet.
Ice and fire are the formative powers of Martin's story, represented by two ancient houses, the Starks and the Targaryens. The center of the ice-fire struggle is Jon Snow, child of a Stark mother and a Targaryen father. Then substitute levoglucosan for Jon Snow in real life. Levoglucosan is a spin-off chemical typical of fire, and can be found in ice cores as a result of combustion residues reaching glaciers via wind. Jon Snow knows nothing. But levoglucosans, specific fire tracers that can reveal past fire activities, know a lot.
Levoglucosans in the Himalayas have revealed a rapid increase in wildfire across the third pole in the beginning of this century. More wildfires, and consequently more fire-related greenhouse gases and smoke aerosols, will threaten regional environmental and public health, and could play a role in Himalayan glacier melting.
The wall in Martin's world is not impenetrable, nor is the third pole.
We know the third pole serves as a barrier to the atmospheric transport of POPs, but how effective is it? For now, the wall seems to work reasonably well, as more than 90% of POPs are trapped along the slopes of the Himalayas.
In Martin's world, Jon Snow and his people fight against a long-feared winter brought by the evil Night King and his army of the dead. We also have our share of worries. The difference is, instead of a Night King, global warming is the one threatening to kill and destroy our world. Lord Commander of the Night's Watch Jeor Mormont once said, "The wall was made to guard the realms of men, and not against other men." Too many years, too many hundreds and thousands of years, we lost sight of the true enemy. The Commander's wisdom still rings true in our world today.
Stay tuned for more TP stories at www.tpe.ac.cn.